In today's review, we're looking at the Pioneer DJ DM-40D speakers. These are a speaker designed for DJs and for DJ producers. So I'm going to be looking at these in depth, every function, every feature, how they work, and you'll know by the end of this whether these are the right speakers for you. Now, as ever, if you're learning to DJ and you want to learn with the best school in the world, that is us, the home of Jazzy Jeff, Laidback Luke, James Hype, and more. The way to get started is for free. Just go to that URL and join. Doing so will get you a free copy of our book, but more importantly, our weekly Tuesday tips email, which will help you improve as a DJ. Okay, to the speakers. So what we got here is basically a primary speaker and a secondary speaker. And that means that these are not the same. Some monitor speakers are exactly the same. You know, you buy them individually. They both got their own power supply, both got their own input and all that. These aren't like that. These have got one speaker with all the gubbins in it, if you like, the amplifier and the inputs and outputs and the power switch and so on. And the other one's just kind of like a dumb box connected by wire to the first one. So let's start off by taking a look at the main speaker, if you like, the primary speaker. So this is it. The front is where you'll find the volume. It's nice to have that on the front because it means you're not leaning around the back, and that's obviously going to control the volume on both speakers. You'll also find a headphones input here, and this is useful because if you suddenly need to just play quietly and plug your headphones in, again, there's no reaching around the back for that, and it'll automatically turn the speaker off. So you've got a 5-inch woofer, a 1-inch tweeter here with this kind of molded area to throw the treble out as wide as possible. And the other speaker's identical on the front, it just doesn't have the volume control or the headphone control. And these are the ports. This is so that the bass, when the bass moves all the air's got somewhere to go. And these are on the front, which is good because it means the speaker is more likely to sound all right when it's up against a wall. Some what are called rear ported speakers tend to have that on the back, and then you've got to keep them a little bit away from the wall, and that's not quite so important with a speaker like this. So that's the front of the primary speaker. Let's turn around and take a look at the back of it now. So we've got the input and output here. So this is a 1/8-inch mini jack input, the one I'm using here, and you've also got an RCA input. So it's also got the speaker terminals, which come with this kind of bell wire. We used to call this bell wire back in the day. Basic wire to connect the two terminals to identical terminals on the back of the other speaker. That's how the signal gets from one to the other. You've got your on-off switch here, and then you've got your AC power in. And the AC power in goes to a transformer that's built into the speaker, so there's no external power brick or anything like that. But the thing to look at here is this switch here. This switch goes from DJ mode to production mode. So what the hell is that? What does a switch that goes from DJ mode to production mode have to do with anything? Well, the reason that's on there is that it gives you a slight change in the way the signal sounds, because this has got something called a DSP, or a digital signal processor, built into it. And what a DSP does is basically take the incoming signal and turn it into something that works well with what it's got to work with, which is basically two quite small speakers. You know, the speakers aren't huge in this. You've got the little tweeter and the little woofer. And it makes sure that whatever you throw at it sounds as good as possible. And while it's doing that, Pioneer DJ has built in a bit of circuitry which helps this to shape that sound a little bit for DJ use or production use. So what's the difference? Well, the thing is, if you're a DJ, you probably like a bit of banging bass and just like a bit of that stomach moving sound. Like, it makes it more fun to DJ. If you're a producer, you want it to be a flatter frequency response with maybe a little bit more precision in the mid-range so you can really hear the different elements in the track. It's a very subtle thing, but that little switch on the back lets you choose between those two modes. Some speakers have like 3 switches, like a low, a mid and a high, which again will just let you do a little bit of a tweak down or up on all of those positions. They're more about getting the speaker sounding right in the actual room you set it up in, whereas this is meant to be more DJ and producer. Honestly, a little bit gimmicky, but hey, there's no harm having that on the speaker at all. Okay, so another thing I want to talk to you about is what comes with the speakers. So they come, of course, with the, looking at them from above now, so they come with this lead here. They come with this lead here that connects to the whatever you've plugged them into, in this case a DJ controller. This has got an 1/8-inch socket on one end. Let's just take a little zoom in on that. So it's got this little 1/8-inch socket on one end, and it's got the RCA type socket on the other end. You can hear as I'm touching this now, it's buzzing away. This is quite useful because it means that you've got the same two things on the back of the speaker here as well, right? It means that you can use the same lead for a couple of different things. Let's just plug that back into our controller there. Don't do this at home, folks. Always turn your speakers down before you do that. So this basically means that you can use the same cable to go from like maybe your phone, if you want to plug your phone into these, and then you just plug that cable, switch it around the other way and plug it into the RCAs, or some DJ controllers, even some of the smaller DJ controllers we have in the studio here have got an 1/8 inch output, or if you've got an RCA output in the back of your gear like most gear has, you've got that other one in there. You can plug two things in at once, by the way, and have them playing through it as well. All right, so that's how they work, that's what they look like. What do we think of these speakers? Well, they are firstly a really nice sounding speaker. In either mode, they sound really cool. We like them. They always have. The original DM-40 sounded good. These DM-40Ds, 5 years later, replacing them, maybe 6 years later, they sound great as well. They've got grown-up styling, right? So they look pretty sober. You might like that. You might not like that. We personally think that's really nice. They just don't look flash. They've got Pioneer DJ written on the front, one little white light. But apart from that, they're sober styling, and we like that. As I said, we like the front reflex. We like the simple setup. You know, this is something that doesn't always need to be overlooked, because if you need to plug in a separate audio cable into both speakers, then you're going to need to split an audio cable or get two special ones to plug them in. And then if you need to reach around the back to turn things on and off and to plug in your headphones and to find your volume control and all that, again, they're a little bit harder. So these are easy to set up and easy to use, and we like that. What don't we like about them then? Well, look, they're flat on the table, right? So they are literally just sat on the table on the bass. Now, a lot of DJs would rather have, in an ideal world, their speakers to be angled up like this, because if they're pointing at you, you're going to get better sound. And some speaker designs nowadays that are designed for DJs who are going to be using them at home and stuff have got either little trays that you can slide the speaker around on, or they're just designed to be able to point at you. You know, the best computer speakers do that. IK Multimedia have got speakers that do that. These are a bit old school, this kind of like plonk them on the desk, because unless they're at head height or pointing at you, you're not going to get the best sound from them. So you might want to invest in some of those wedges to push them up a bit in order to get them to point at your head, especially the tweeter, especially the high frequencies. They do respond best to being pointing at you because they're very directional. So we don't like the fact that this producer DJ switch is a little bit gimmicky. It smells of the marketing department a bit to us. I mean, like I said, it's better than nothing, but it's a bit gimmicky. And they're going to cost you $50 more, £50 more than the originals. These are in the UK $199. They're originally $149. All right, that was a few years ago, but most gear doesn't tend to go up massively in price over the years. These have. It's not really clear what extra you're getting for your money, because the originals were really good. All that said though, we like them. The Pioneer DJ DM-40D, the replacement for the DM-40 original one speakers here. So we've written this up as well. If you want to go and take a look at that, get a few more of the specs and so on the write-up. If you've enjoyed this one more time, please do come and join us. There is the info down there. You get the free book, Amazon bestseller on how to DJ. You get our gear guide, but more importantly, you get our weekly emails to help you become a better DJ and better DJ producer. Till the next review here on Digital DJ Tips, this is me, Phil Moore, saying get good, get out there, make the moments. I'll see you again very soon.